Welcome to Education Insights. Always a pleasure to visit with not only a good friend, but the Superintendent of Port Huron Schools.
Hi, Kevin.
Theo Kerhoulas. And as we tape this, I'm going to make, it's Theo's birthday.
Something special happening today?
Sorry to pull you away from all the festivities on your birthday today.
There's parties going on all day,
I'm sure that's the case.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you.
You're welcome. Long time friend, buddy. Good to see you again. So let's talk about the state of Port Huron Schools. You're going to make me feel old here. How many years now in Port Huron?
So I've been at Port Huron for 16 years, I think, and this is starting year 6 as superintendent.
Unreal. Time just...
And I'm not going to call you old because it's my birthday, so
that's right.
We're both getting older.
So each year you go through kind of a short-term vision process and a long-term vision process, but I know you work with your board and other constituents too, but strategic planning has become a big part of education in general. You don't just look at the 25-26 school year, you're looking at 2, 3, 5 years out. So talk about the process a little bit.
Yeah, we've got a really good system in place, and I've got my board, I have a fantastic board of education who loves children and works really hard together. We're on a 3-year rotation of a strategic plan and goals. We look at those every 3 years, and we're right at the bottom of it now, and we're starting a new revisit of our goals. And we're doing something kind of new this year called a portrait of a learner, and I'll talk to you about that. But it's kind of an exciting time to do something a little bit different with goals and strategic planning and things like that. So a portrait of a learner is kind of reverse engineering it. What I've asked our district to do is produce what do we think our learners should be when they leave us, when they leave 3rd grade or when they walk across that stage at commencement. And if we can get some pillars or some ideas of what do we really want our kids to know and learn and be, most importantly, then we can reverse design that with strategic planning. So that's the process we're in right now. It's called Portrait of a Learner. So what we've done is we've surveyed our staff and our kids, and we actually used AI in this, and it helped us analyze this, because you can imagine getting everyone's opinion. It's this huge amount of data, and we had AI help us get it, break it down. And we've come up with 6 pillars of what our expectations of our kids are, and we've taken that and we've sent it back out to the teachers and to the community and to the kids to look at that and tweak it. Tell us what you think, because we wanted a second round of input on that. So that's where we are. But we should end up with maybe 5 or 4 pillars of and with some strategies underneath. We're going to present that to our board and come up with our portrait of a learner, which will be a basis of everything.
You talked about interviewing or at least getting input from your constituents and your kids. What age groups did you talk to? All of them, or what age did you start?
We did upper L all the way to our seniors, of course, and all of our staff and our community as well. So that's a survey, a digital survey, and then I do these things called voice sessions, and what that is I go out to the schools and I sit down with small groups of kids and staff and kind of ask them, hey, how are things going? What can we do better? And those are my favorite meetings of the year. It's a big place, right? 19 schools, so 19 student meetings, 19 parent meetings. That becomes timely, but it's worth every minute, because the information I get from that, and just the interaction with, I do like talking to kids. I miss the classroom. You were a teacher, I was a teacher, and we got to get our kid fix on every once in a while.
Yeah. So you're in process, so I won't ask you to predict the outcome, but did you have any things that you expected to come out from those things, and then some things that shocked you, or was it kind of along the line of what you were thinking?
Well, it's kind of in line, but it's interesting because we're probably about halfway through our surveys right now, and I can take a quick peek at the data and some of those open responses. And as I'm reading it, I really felt validated, because a lot of the people said, this is really good. This is what we expect. And some tweaks along the way, but I wasn't expecting the positive response in that second round, that validation, and I was like, okay, we're on the right track here. Yeah. We're on the right track.
That's always good to hear that, because if you're getting some validation, especially from the students, as they leave you as a junior or senior, then you're doing some things right, or that you've done some things right throughout their entire career. I will tell you, so earlier this morning I taped an interview with James Freed,
Oh, okay.
city manager of Port Huron. He was very complimentary about the relationships with SC4 and Kirk Kramer, with the tech program at RISA, but he was very complimentary of Port Huron Schools in general, in that you're looking at what the student needs when they graduate to go on. And it's not just one pathway into college and beyond that, but there's other pathways that lead to, jobs that are going to be available to them, high-tech jobs, STEM, he mentioned in particular. So I know that you and I have talked about that before, but that was just a compliment and a validation to what you have done as a district to get students ready to graduate into a world where they can go to work as well.
Well, and as you know, it takes partnerships, and I don't think I can't think of a better partner than the city of Port Huron with us. James does a great job, and the mayor and the chief of police and fire, just the things we've done just in the last year with them. It's that partnership. It's that I know we can call each other, sit down, and figure things out. James just did a state of the city, which was fantastic. He did a great job with that. The mayor just read at our African American read-in with our young ones, which is phenomenal. She's such a beautiful person and loves kids. And through RISA, your old stomping ground, we opened our safety program at Woodrow Wilson with RISA teaching kids and opening a pipeline to fire and police and EMS. And those don't happen without a great relationship with the city. The city just donated a police car to us this year, a retired police car. And I heard maybe we're going to get the fire engine, and I'm hoping I get to drive it. Like
it's always been a dream, I know.
I want to hit the siren. I don't know if that's where you do it or if it's down here. But.
Maybe it's all kids. Maybe it was just me and you. But at some point in your life, you wanted to be a fireman.
Yeah,
yeah.
So and I'm big chicken. Like, those people are brave, and that's not me. I'm not going into the fire, but I want to hit that siren.
So you talk about being in the midst of the second interviews or the second round of surveying. When does the process complete, and when do you hope to kind of release that to the public, I guess, of what are those 4 to 5 pillars?
So our process is we're going to get we're getting the rest of this data, which ends pretty soon here, and then we analyze all that. We then take it to our board in a workshop, and our board will then beat it up one last time, and then they're going to get the actual basics of what when ask them to approve. Then I'm going to take it to actually your old stomping ground again, RISA, and I hope Brenda Tenniswood knows this. I told her, it's coming to you next. And they've got a great graphics design team over there, Lisa Steinborn, who I know you remember, and they're going to give us some options on what it might look like aesthetically, because that's important too. This thing is going to be the centerpiece of a lot of what we do. Yep. And we're going to get some of those versions of the what we've done.
What's going to look like in paper? What's it going to look like when somebody gets that out in the public and looks at your pillars?
Right. And then we're going to give that graphic to our kids and let them decide. Let them pick. We like this one or that one better. Then they've got ownership. Then we'll take it to our board for final approval. And it's really important to me that we get it done before this summer, because I want our teachers to have it over the summer so that they can start to reflect. And summer's a nice time when people can reflect. Yeah. What might that look like in the classroom? What might that look like next year? And then we roll it out next year.
So as you get that final product, and you said as you give it to the teachers, so your expectations would be that across the grade levels then that necessarily major changes, but tweak curriculum a little bit so that you're aligning with what the things are in the strategic plan, right?
Mm-hmm. It's a great way if everyone knows what this is and everybody understands like these are some of our objectives, then teachers can weave it into those daily discussions. Those one of them is I'm sure I haven't decided yet, but one of them is around citizenship, right? Yeah. Being a great citizen, being a great human being. And when we get common vocabulary and strands and point to the wall and say, look at you, little Kevin, what a great citizen you were just now. And what a great, you just helped Sally with her homework. That's what we're talking about. And so if we can weave those things into our conversations and have that common vocabulary with the kids and the teachers and all staff, right? All staff are invited into this, right? Some of our greatest advocates for kids are our custodians. I was at a building the other day in our elementary building, and our custodian was playing the guitar to a bunch of kids and working with them, and so it takes a village, as you know.
Absolutely. Yeah. Let's go back a month to February, or not even a month, but a couple of weeks ago, you talked about Mayor Ashford reading to some kids, but you come out of Black History Month and talk a little bit about, in the past, but what the district did to incorporate into Black History Month.
Sure. We're really proud of how we celebrate our African Americans, and Black History Month is a great time to do it. And we do a lot of things, but two that jump out special. One is our African American read-in. So 2 weeks ago on a Saturday, kids volunteered, and it was a bit of an honor at each school to represent your school. And they came and they read on stage in front of our community books either by or about African Americans. And I talk about windows and mirrors. So what I mean by windows and mirrors are, I think it's important that kids can see themselves reflected in what they read. When I grew up in Canada, I don't think I read very many books as a youngster, picture books or things like that, about or by African Americans, And it's important for kids to see themselves, especially young African Americans, to see themselves in what they read. So that's the mirrors. The windows it's also equally as important to see other perspectives and other cultures in what you read. So it's just a benefit for all kids if we can highlight different cultures, different races, different in who and what they read. But this was focused on African American literature, and it was fantastic. The place is packed, and the kids get up there and read. And Mayor Ashford was there, and she gave a pep talk. And what I loved is one of the kids, and they practice really hard, and they're in their best dress. And I can tell you, everybody gets a standing ovation, And I really applaud our community who stayed till the end, because it's like an hour and a half program, and a lot of them were just there maybe to see their son or grandson or whatever. But they all stayed, and the clapping for the kids is just warm my heart. But one little student got a little nervous, because that's nerve-wracking, especially for an elementary school's kid, and kind of froze up. And I watched 5 other kids from his school get around him, support him, help him through it. And they read little sections and then come back. The next time he came around, he was strong and nailed it the next time. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so good.
That's citizenship 101 right
exactly, there. Exactly. So that was great, and a great event. The second one I want to say, this is just really cool, and I know you as an educator, you love it when all different disciplines come into one thing. So at Indian Woods, which is one of our elementary schools, their PTA got pedometers for all the kids. So that's a little thing you wear, and it tells you how many steps you took. So they've done the math, and they found out how far it is from Indian Woods Elementary to the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., and they know that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. did an important speech there, right? And so they wanted to find out the distance, and they're doing their own march to Washington, D.C., so that they can learn about the big speech, the I Have a Dream speech, of course, that he did. And think of it, I mean, the citizenship, the history, the math, the geography, all these things wrapped into one lesson, and then the culture of that whole school I was there the other day, and they're all in the morning, they're walking before school starts, they're walking the halls in a circle to try and get the distance up. And what a great lesson, and what a great idea. So hats off to Indian Woods and their PTA and the people organizing that, and the kids who are and staff. All the staff have them. They're walking too, and just to warm my heart. It was a good one.
Well, back in the day, using some education terminology here, that's a great cross-curriculum approach.
I don't understand the term.
You went
Exactly.
geography. You're talking about speeches and English. All those things rolled into one. History and culture as well. So
it's a great idea.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to continue with Theo Kerhoulas as we take a break here on Education Insights. We'll be back.
Semco Energy Gas Company is dedicated to you with a focus on customer service and fuel today for a sustainable tomorrow. Semco Energy works hard to make your time with family and friends warm and cozy. Semco Energy Gas Company. Natural gas works for Michigan.
Welcome back to Education Insights. I'm here with Theo Kerhoulas, who is the superintendent of Port Huron Schools. And Theo, we talked about a couple of great topics before the break, but technology has been an interesting one. And it's come full circle from when you and I worked together at Croslex. We were just dying to get technology in the students' hands, but somewhere along the line, it became a little bit to where it was interruptive in the entire process too. So I know I've seen processes happening around the country. Where is Port Huron with the whole technology thing?
Well, Kevin, when we were at Croslex, we were one of the first to go one-to-one.
Yep.
Remember, we did iPads. Every student got an iPad. Now, it's almost a staple. Students in one-to-one technology is almost a basic need of what we have. Of course, Port Huron, we have one-to-one technology for all of our kids, and curriculum is now embedded into the technology. Of course, books are essential, and I love touching a paper book, and so do the kids. But so much of what we do is through our Chromebooks and our technology and professional development with our teachers and how to use it. And now with AI, I mean, it's just it's what we do. And actually, your predecessor said something to me once, Dan DeGros. He said, if you're not on the train, it's already here, and you're going to be left behind. So we have to stay on the train, but we have to be cautious as well, right? We can't just chase every shiny lure. We have to be cautious and intentional about what we do. Change is hard. You have to be intentional with change.
Absolutely. So a lot of it becomes about the use of the device, or whether the device becomes prohibitive in the educational process. So I'm sure that you and your board and your staff have had those conversations, right?
Yeah, some devices like cell phones, for example, they have great impact, but also very disruptive and very counterintuitive to what we're trying to do. I know Michigan came out with a cell phone law recently. A year and a half ago, our district had already adopted even a more detailed policy and procedure, and our board adopted it as well for cell phone use. And we really restrict hard cell phones at Port Huron schools. Kids can use it at lunch, but cell phones and ear pods are not allowed in the classroom. It used to be kind of up to teacher discretion maybe 3 years ago, and our teachers actually asked, and we thought that was the right thing to do. It needs to have a little bit harder and have it a school-wide and district-wide policy. So now I see, all the time our buildings are celebrating a week free of any violation. So I know last week at one of the high schools, no student was caught with their cell phone out, because you were a sneaky kid. I always folled the rules, but
I can tell you some stories.
They might have that cell phone out behind a book or in their pocket, and so we celebrate when our school wide no cell phone violations, and so those policy I've talked before. When I meet with student groups, I asked them this year. I said, so tell me about the cell phone policy. What do you think? And the kids were very receptive to it. They did. I thought they'd be like, oh, don't ask that. They're going to hate it. We really like it, Mr. Kerhoulas. We're not being disrupted. A lot of the expectations of getting back to your friend who's texting you or talking to you on social media, it's not there because they know the kids can't do it. And a funny thing is I don't know how broad this is, but a couple of the kids said, and my parents aren't bothering me during the day because so I might have texted my own kids when they were in high school during the day. So they've the kids have really embraced it, and they like it.
A few years ago, we had to begin, and it was one of those things where social media had become such an issue for educators, especially in administration, like you and I have gone through the background. How much of what happens on those devices out of the school day or outside the classroom comes into the schools as well, and what does the school district have to say about those types of interactions as well?
Well, a couple things. I think restricting it during the school day actually has an effect at home. Yeah. I've heard from some parents, our kids aren't, no, my kids are old, they're in university now, but they're not on it as much at home either. So it's kind of taken everything on a step back, because if you're slowing it down during the school day, it just naturally slows it down, in totality. But it's still, social media. I don't think we were built as human beings to have that much. If 10,000 people can see a post that these kids have a lot of followers. Yeah. No one's interested in me. I think I have like 42 followers, but some of these kids have thousands and thousands. Yeah. And if something happened, when we were in school, maybe I passed you a note and it got to 3 or 4 people. Something happens now, the whole school knows and the whole community knows. And that's tough on kids and mental health and things like that. So we deal with that. We have a thing called PBIS, which is positive behavior, and we talk about that. We teach kids proper use of social media so that they understand that. We don't encourage it, of course, and we restrict it during the day. Our own devices, like our Chromebooks, that's not on there, and now with cell phones gone, but we still try to teach kids the positive way to use it. It's an important tool, right? Social media accelerates everything, which is great if it's something good, but it also accelerates bad decisions as well.
Well, I can tell you as a grandparent now, I didn't have to raise children in the age of media in their hands 24/7, but I can tell you with 7 grandchildren under the age of 8, that if you hand a device to a child, it's hard for them to even hear you. I mean, you almost have to take it away to ask them a question because it's so immersive and it's so engaging. And I can imagine that would be just so prohibitive to interrupting, anything that's happening to the educational process, if you will.
Yeah, I've talked to teachers that say it's night and day compared to 2 years ago, it's the path of the future. We have to keep this up.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's transition for our last quarter of the program today, talk about literacy. I know the governor's had a lot to say about literacy. Governor's not an educator. You are, as one of our leaders around the state. So, but how does the state involvement in the literacy process and from the governmental side impact the education side? And then what are your thoughts about literacy as we move into the future? Because obviously that's still one of the key tenets of
Absolutely.
Education, especially early education.
So I think the governor and the legislature and the literacy, it's PA 146, which is the new K-12 literacy law. I think there might be political theater involved in that, and that's what happens in Lansing. You know that, and I do. But I don't care, because if you're putting more money towards literacy, then I'm all for it, right? If you can start to funnel more dollars towards education and help us in that way, I'm all for it. And literacy, especially in an urban district, maybe with a high percentage of poverty like ours, there's 4 or 5 things that need to happen, and this is really helping. Number one, early childhood. Right? We've built, as you know, we've built an state-of-the-art early childhood center. I'm so proud of that building. We have, hundreds of 4-year-olds in our district that are getting ready for kindergarten, and but that's the first investment. And the governor and the legislature have invested in early childhood. They actually want to go from 4 days a week to 5 days a week.
Fantastic.
I'm all for it. It doesn't matter your motive. I don't care if you're put more money into education and putting it in the right place, like early education. Right on. And if you ever need a pick me up, come on over. I'll take you over to the early childhood center and watch my amazing
Nothing
teachers.
Like seeing 4 and 5-year-olds in education. It's the most gratifying thing you can do as an educational leader.
Right, and they do a fantastic job. So the next thing is screening and assessing. I hate to say to test, but we have to see where kids are, and we do that. And there's some money involved with doing that as well. Then, when a kid needs some support or whatever, it's the intervention, right? Allowing intervention to happen and helping kids in small groups is great. And but what we do is important too. The big thing at the state level is the science of reading, which is to say that what we do needs to be evidence-based. I'm all for it. We should be using evidence-based curriculum, and we do. We just invested actually $1.2 million in our K-5 ELA, English Language Arts curriculum last year, which aligns perfectly with this new legislation. So we were
proactive.
Yeah, we kind of knew it was coming this way, and we made good decisions. We have a team, teachers and administrators that come together to make curriculum decisions. The writing was on the wall, so we needed to update our ELA curriculum anyway. So we did it. Back then, it was the right decision. And then all that is so important, but equally as important is training the people in front of our kids, right? And our teachers work so hard, and professional development is so important. So we have to train them with the best tools and give them the best curriculum and best tools. So it's a process, and we talk about acorns at Port Huron. We're making decisions right now to plant trees that next generation will sit under for shade. This isn't going to help, me. I'm probably never even going to see the results on a data page anywhere. But 5 years from now, 10 years from now, as this generation gets older, and because as you know, reading is everything, right? It's the most powerful
absolutely.
thing is teaching a kid to read. And kids from poverty need twice as much help, and we're there to provide it.
I saw the governor released her budget for the 26-27 year in education. It begins July 1, even though the state budget doesn't begin until October 1. But I noticed that 31A, and for the people watching, 31A is generally, when you hear a number about a state budget, it means it's a line item in the state budget. So line 31A has always had to do with at-risk dollars, or dollars that given to the district. I know there was a cutback last year, kind of overall, but I asked you before the program, and you were really positive to say that it looks like that, at least in her budget, is going to be reinstated at the full level or even more than where it was before.
Yeah, so there's 31A and 31AA, which I know people get confused with. 31AA is the safety and mental health money, and that was cut back years ago, and 2 years ago, and last year it was put back in, and there was some language attached to it, and districts had to make a decision if they would agree to that language or not. Many districts said no and turned the money away, and Port Huron said yes. I didn't care for the language, but that safety component is too important to mess around with. So we agreed to that, and we did take the money. We're doing things like, school resource officers, securely, which is a new thing. We were just talking about technology. That's where teachers can monitor what's on the device of a student in front of them. So if the kid's got a Chromebook up, if you've got 25 kids in a classroom with their computers on, it's hard for a teacher to ensure the kid is doing what they need to be doing. So the teacher can lock all those screens onto one website, and also can monitor from the teacher computer whatever one's on. So we're just rolling that out now, but that's kind of some of those dollars being used for good things. 31A is, like you said, at risk, and we have a huge at risk population because we have a high percent of poverty, and they're as you know, when the governor says something,
Just an initial
doesn't
budget.
mean that's a draft. That's a draft. But in our initial budget, there's an increase to at-risk, and that's definitely a need for us. They're actually trying to refactor it. I won't get into the boring numbers of it, but when they refactor it, they are proposing being able to put the money more targeted to districts like ours that are probably in greater need. Every district has need, but I think everyone would agree, even from a district that's population has a wealthy population, everyone agrees. Kids from poverty, there's extra interventions. They need more support, so we have to be able to fund that.
Overall, as I've watched you in your leadership role with Port Huron Schools, always proud of what you're doing. You've got to feel good about, I'm not talking about this prideful moment for yourself, that where the district though is, Theo, from where it was, say, 5 to 10 years ago and where it is today. So kudos to you and your staff. It takes, like you said, it takes a village, but you have done a wonderful job there as leader, and your staff has done a wonderful job moving deep into the 21st century now of learning. So kudos to you.
I appreciate you saying that. My team, my staff, from whatever, noon hours to custodians to teachers to administrators to whatnot, they're proud of our district right now. They work really hard for our kids, and that's the most important thing. They put kids first, and if we're making our decisions kid first all the time, then we're doing the right thing.
You do that? The good things will
I
happen.
heard a guy say that a few thousand times.
I might have said that one or two times. Always good to see you. And that'll wrap up this edition of Education Insights. As always, we thank you for joining us.